The Rebel Alliance. This group brought down a tyrannical empire against all odds and restored hope to a galaxy in turmoil. Or did they? Was the Rebel Alliance really going to save the galaxy? Or did it just make things worse?
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away!
Okay, so as always I want to talk about the history of the Rebel Alliance to give us some perspective. So, the Rebel Alliance actually originates back from the time of the Galactic Republic, when Palpatine was still the Supreme Chancellor. Now, Palpatine had used his emergency powers during this time a lot, and this made some of the Senate very unhappy. For this reason, a petition started which aimed to get the Chancellor to dismiss this power. This was called the Delegation of 2000 because 2000 different systems representatives signed it. Now, this petition was never passed due to Palpatine's rise to power. In fact, many of the delegates who signed the petition mysteriously vanished or were arrested under Palpatine's rule. So, of course there were rebellions, however, many of which were deflectors from the Old Republic, such as resistance groups that were originally funded by the Republic to fight the Separatists, for example the Free Ryloth movement. As well as this, rebelling senators, such as the Organas, secretly worked with hidden Jedi and resistance groups to undermine the Empire's rule. By the 19th year of Imperial rule, a fully formed rebellion had emerged, which successfully destroyed the first Death Star. 4 years later, they defeated Palpatine and the second Death Star, and within a year the New Republic and Imperial remnants agreed to peace following the Battle of Jakku. This leads on to the events in Force Awakens, and so on. Now, the Rebel Alliance's real name is the Alliance to Restore the Republic, and that's where my first argument begins. The Republic clearly didn't work, well, at least not that well. It was largely the proud senators of the Republic that called for the creation of the Clone Army. It was those senators that fell for Palpatine's false intentions and gave him the emergency powers, and many of those senators even praised Palpatine upon his ascension to Emperor.
Society.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
A huge problem with the Republic is that it was too susceptible to corruption, as Palpatine proved time and time again. The Old Republic, large companies such as the Trade Federation gained seats in the Senate due to their resources and influence. These huge companies would be a necessity in order for the Republic to rebuild what the Empire destroyed, and would likely find their way back into the Senate, meaning money would work its way back into politics all over again. In fact, this actually happened. During the peace period between the First Order and New Republic, some senators discreetly accepted large sums of credit in order to vote down or postpone sanctions against the First Order, or increasing the Republic's navy. However, this video is about the Rebel Alliance, not the Republic. The main way the Rebel Alliance worked was not by making large military stances, as they would never be able to hold ground against the vast and infinite resources of the Imperial war machine. Instead, they worked in the shadows, using concentrated strikes and hit-and-run tactics to cripple essential Imperial assets before fleeing. But is this good? The Empire, despite all its flaws, and there was a lot of them, did bring structure to the galaxy after the Clone Wars. Granted, it was harsh, unfair, and very much flawed, as we previously discovered, but at least it was something. The rebels' plan was simply to restore the old government, which was likely responsible for all the suffering. So, how exactly were the rebels going to improve anything? Like in all episodes, I want to talk about the economy. As we previously discussed, the Empire gets all its money and resources from its people, so every single time the Empire lost some vital asset that was destroyed by rebels, it would be the Imperial taxpayers or everyday citizens who fronted the cost, meaning the rebels really only caused further problems for the everyday citizen. As well as this, the Empire only ever responded to threats with force. For example, after a rebel cell was discovered on Lothal, the Empire covered the skyline with Star Destroyers, which you can guarantee isn't cheap. So, the Rebel Alliance only gives the Empire cause to further overspend on its colossal military. Giving the Empire an enemy to fight is simply giving it justification for its actions and problems, a scapegoat if you will. For every time a citizen of the Empire would have their taxes increased, whether there was a famine or crisis, the Empire would have an excuse to tell to its subjects, a reason for them to keep paying their taxes more than just fear of the Empire itself. They would believe that the Empire was in some way protecting them. As well as this, we know that the Empire ruled through terror. Signs of disloyalty to the Imperial regime would be treated with shows of force, for example the Antar atrocity. This genocide carried out by Moff Wilhuff Tarkin was to make example of Antar 4 due to their ties with the Separatists in the Clone Wars, and to scare anyone who wouldn't be loyal to the Imperials into shape. This is a perfect example of how the rebels only cause problems. The Empire doesn't overly care what its subjects think about it, so long as they get the credits and resources they want. For this reason, whenever the rebels would strike out against the Imperials, who would pay the price? Not the rebels, but the civilians they claim to help. Anyone accepted aid from the rebellion would be punished. Trying to protect rebels, and entire communities would be wiped off the map to find a single fugitive. My final and possibly most important point in this entire argument is that the Galactic Civil War was a civil war. For this reason, like most civil wars, the victor is left with destroyed assets and crippling debt. So, when the Empire was actually defeated, the New Republic was left with Palpatine's shattered plans. Giant military complexes that Palpatine had created for some reason now just became giant credit-consuming liabilities that the Republic had no idea what to do with. This happened all the way around and really would have just destroyed the entire Republic's economy. So, by the Republic taking over from the Empire, did it really help? Now, of course, the Alliance did help a huge amount of people who suffered under the Empire. For example, slaves, prisoners, or fugitives on trumped-up charges, and they perhaps did give hope to those under the Empire's rule that one day they would not have to be. But it's arguable to say if they actually helped. Granted, they succeeded and managed to restore the Republic, but as we saw from The Force Awakens, this didn't last long. Without a plan on how they were going to sustain the galaxy that they'd freed, they were bound to repeat the same past mistakes, and a lot of people suffered trying to make this happen. If we combine this idea with those from what we found in our Empire sustainability video, we find that realistically it's likely the Empire would have ended up being reformed into a republic again anyway, with no one being able to take Palpatine's place and hold the power. Meaning the rebellion, the uncountable amount of credits spent fighting them, and the huge loss of life sustained during the war on both sides was kind of wasted. But what do you think? As I found this an incredibly interesting talking point, and I'm intrigued to hear your opinion on the matter. Please put your comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe for more content if you enjoyed and want to see more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.